Happy Tuesday, everybody. Joy is finally back from her vacation.
Oh, it was fabulous. Thank you so much for covering for me.
She needed it. She's never had a vacation like this before, and I've known Joy for 20 years. So I'm happy Joy got that vacation. I don't know if I shared where you went, so you can.
Okay, well, and this was actually a gift from our son, but we had a 2-week trip to Italy, and it was just fabulous. We hit Rome and Florence and Venice, Positano, Siena, Ravello, Amalfi. I mean, it was just, it was definitely a lifetime of memories. Yeah.
I'm so happy she got to go. She's always working so hard here at our shelter. She's 24/7, and she doesn't get a day off, just so you all know. She is here for everything. So I'm so happy Joy got a vacation.
Yeah, and you were 24/7 while I was gone.
Woo!
But the
you.
big thing here, is that with our shelter, and I think we've mentioned it before, every single person here is a volunteer. We have been from the very beginning. Nobody gets a penny. If you're here, it's because you want to be here to help the bunnies. There's no other reason for being here.
And I am so proud of that, because I know not all of you have seen our shelter, but what's this, 5,000 square feet?
It's 6,400 square feet now.
And we have this amazing bunny shelter. We have a store. We do board bunnies here, and we've had so many boarding bunnies that we've had to make a little adjustment.
Yeah, we have been trying to help everybody.
Yeah, we're trying to accommodate, but I'm really proud of us. I am. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, because it's, like you said, it's all the volunteers who have pulled together to create this place. And, we started, I think, that with about 7 or 8 people, 24 years ago. So next year we hit the, number 25.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I might have to bring us a little closer.
Okay.
Gloria said she's having a problem hearing us.
Oh, okay. Talk a little bit louder.
Yeah. Sorry, my allergies again. This is horrible. And let me make sure that I have my volume all the way up on my computer screen, maybe. For some reason, our internet in this room isn't
as quite as good as it should be, but it's a quiet place. Mm-hmm. It's where Bobby and I can take off our masks in order to do the show, because as soon as we go out there, masks are back on. Okay, it's unfortunately it is ramped up again, particularly here in this state, and we have to be very, very cautious.
Okay, so Gloria, let me know if you can hear us any better, which I'll keep looking.
Okay.
But Karen is saying hello. Everyone is saying hello and welcome back.
Thank you.
I always have to start with this, is to like and follow our Facebook page. You may think that you're liking and following, but you need to double check, because a lot of people, it still says you're invited, but you haven't actually clicked it, because you can come on our Facebook page even if you don't like or follow us.
Yeah.
So if you could please double check that and make sure that you have pushed those buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And also share. You guys are doing a great job sharing our Facebook page. I can't ask for anything better, because we are getting around amazing. I can't even, oh my gosh.
It's really
you guys are doing great on sharing
fantastic.
It. We're getting a lot of new people coming in to adopt bunnies. And it's all because you guys are sharing our page and they're learning about us. So I am really grateful. And I just want to thank you guys for helping us do that.
Yeah.
So tonight, Joy's going to touch on a subject everyone needs to know about. She won't go in, if she really goes into great details, it could be a very long conversation.
Right.
But she's going to touch on it, tell you about it, and tell you where you can find out more about it. But if you have any questions, you can always message Joy, and she can always answer your questions after our show too.
Right. Well, and because I was on vacation, because we have so many boarders here right now. I mean, we have an unprecedented number of boarders. In fact, there's even right, even over my shoulder, you can see probably the cage. We have some pens here in our education room, again, trying to accommodate the number of people boarding. But when things looked like they were getting a little bit better and things kind of started opening up, people wanted to travel. And the trip that we had that I took this year was actually planned for last summer, and of course got canceled with everything. And then it said, things started opening up a little bit, and so we were able to actually go through. But we had to be completely vaccinated before we were allowed into another country. We had to have a negative test before we were allowed back into this country. And that's people. We're not headed there for people. We're headed there for bunnies. Okay. If you have not heard of it, and I'm sure you have, because if you're a bunny person, you know about RHEV, which is the rabbit hemorrhagic disease. It's a virus. It is about 90% fatal. It, at this point, affects both domestic rabbits and cottontails. So it's a disease that's been around for quite a long time, at least a couple of decades, and was rampant in Europe, I think Asia, Australia, and those places have developed a vaccine for it. And because our cottontails they're within the Lagomorph family, but a little bit different from the domestic rabbit, which is a hereditary background is the European wild rabbit. So our cottontails had not been catching it. I mean, they were immune to it, and it has evolved, so to speak, just kind of like we've got now these other variants on COVID, and the virus too. It will affect wild bunnies. So in essence, we now have it in the United States. It has gotten in here, and the heaviest concentration is still, I believe, in New Mexico, Arizona, but it is in Texas, California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado. I think it's gotten into Montana, Washington, Oregon. So basically, a lot of places where there is a lot of vacation travel. Okay. And I will mention, that it showed up in Georgia and Florida, but those seem to be very contained cases. So those aren't two states that we're really concerned about right now. It's really mostly the western states where we know it is among the wild population. And the issue there is that it is so extremely contagious that you could inadvertently pick it up and bring it back if you are vacationing in those areas and not even know it. Okay, it lives on a surface for about 90 days. Only really high heat affects it. So not like, it's 105 degrees here. That's not good enough. No, if we're talking about really high heat, and so people vacationing, like I said, could very easily bring it back. So if you're going to any of those states, keep that in mind. Okay. You don't want to, when you come home, maybe you want to get a pair of shoes that you're just using there and on location. You pitch them before you come back.
It's funny you said that, because one of our volunteers is actually going to a hot state. And she texted me and said, don't worry, when I get off the airplane, I'm throwing my tennis shoes in the trash and my clothes. I bought rescue wipes. I'm wiping everything down before I leave the airport, so I will be safe to come back to my bunnies.
Yes.
I thought that was really good.
It is. It really is, because and the rescue wipes, and you can go out and you can find it online. It is, you do have to, it has to stay in contact with the surface for about 60 seconds before it'll kill the virus. But you can do that. Just simply washing your clothes. So, instead of changing into something, you're not coming in contact with your bunnies if you've worn these clothes at, the other location. Where you sit. You could be in a park. sit down on a bench. Well, what if some little kids have been running around and they jumped up on the bench and now their feet are on the bench and that's on your clothes? Okay, it could be on your, like I said, on your shoes. If you've got a rental vehicle, you might even take some rescue with you. Wipe down those floor pads, in the car. Wipe down the seats, before you turn it back in. If it's your own car, you definitely want to make sure that you clean those. Because again, you might change your shoes, but you get back in the car, if it's on those floor pads, you just stepped in it again.
Renee, one of our volunteers, and she does a lot of the veterinarian stuff with us. She told me a great idea, which I'm going to start doing, is she said, start practicing. All shoes are taken off outside. No shoes are worn in the house.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh. It's something little, but you can start doing it now so everyone gets used to doing it, because you could track it into your house. Then I was panicked because of my dogs going out in the backyard. So she suggested the rescue wipes and wiping off their paws when they come back in. Like, I would never think about those things.
Yeah. If you do something like that, be sure and also have one with water, just a regular wet,
Yes.
to wipe that off so it doesn't damage your feet at all.
Yeah. My dog has sensitive feet because she has an autoimmune and she does have little scars from it. So, yeah. Renee told me how to take care of everything, so that's what I'm going to implement.
One of our other volunteers, she went out and got booties for her dog.
Oh!
Yeah, so that when she takes the dog for a walk, it's got these little,
Well, I made mine wear
material booties.
We went camping, and I made my dogs wear socks.
Well, there you go. It's kind of the same thing. It's just a
I made them wear socks.
And and we don't even have it in our state yet.
No.
That we're aware of it. But it's the idea is to take precautions, and if you do have it in your state, go to rabbit.org. That's our national headquarters of HRS, and there is a ton of information there. I mean, literally a ton of information on what to do, and and how to avoid getting.
I actually printed it out, and then I sent it to Renee, and her and I were both looking. We both learned a ton of new stuff. And it scared the crap out of me.
Well, it's a virus worth scaring out of you, seriously.
I am so stressed and worried about this virus, not only for our personal bunnies, but all of our bunnies at the bunny shelter, all of our volunteers. I mean, we're taking good precautions at our shelter, and we're going to start implementing.
We have even more. I mean, there's more things to implement. But it's just a matter of it is scary, because even something, let's just say, a mosquito bites a bunny that's got this disease. Now the chances of it biting another bunny, okay, but if it bites that other bunny, it could possibly transmit that. Same thing with a fly. All of these things, because it is a contact virus. Not an airborne virus. Anything that comes in contact with it, like I said, can maintain that, for like 90 days. So,
and I read on that information that it could actually, your bunny could get it and it could not show symptoms, but it could shed it or have it up to 3 months.
I'm not.
It's something new. New. I just read on that. I hadn't known that.
Yeah, because the incubation. I know they worry about like 10 to 14 days, and so. But the thing is, it could.
It's actually longer now.
They're looking at.
They just changed it. Yeah, it's actually not 14 days.
Guys, gone for 2 weeks, and look what happens. Okay.
Yeah, you just in those. Yeah, they updated their stuff, and now they've seen, I guess, some other things. I don't know. You'll have to read it. It's so much.
But I would definitely encourage you to go out onto rabbit.org and read the information on the RHDD, because it is so critical.
Proactive.
Right. If you are, in the States, if you're watching us from Europe, you already have, a vaccine, and then we would definitely, encourage you to get the vaccine to keep your bunny safe, because your wild population can carry it. Yeah.
And Gloria, she is in Springfield, Missouri, and she has just started up her own rabbit rescue. She's on here right now. She was the one telling us that we need to talk a little bit louder.
Thanks.
But yeah, Gloria, I encourage you to start doing that too, and letting your adopters know and your fosters about it, and maybe print out that pamphlet and give them, just, to be on the safe side. But we love Gloria. We're so happy to have her out there. So I have a comment I want to read real quick. This is from Sally. She said, we contacted HRS to surrender a bun that landed in our lap. And because of you guys, we decided to keep her. Getting her spayed in a couple weeks. And my daughter volunteers now. So blessed to have you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are blessed.
Yes.
That you kept that bunny, and now your daughter's coming to volunteer with us. We're so happy. Amanda said, I just adopted Van Gogh.
Okay.
Yeah. She said, I'm so unbelievably excited. Well, I'm really happy you got.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
A lot of people watching tonight. That's great. Ask your questions. Please ask away. Christina said, we just got back. We bought rescue wipes and shoes are in the garbage. We are missing not being there tonight. Oh, okay. And Peyton and I hope we can come back soon. Yes. So I was just talking to Joy. These are volunteers that come in on Tuesdays. They went to Texas and they were asking when they could come back, and I wasn't for sure. So Joy, how long should they be proactive?
I was saying incubation was like 10 days. You're saying it's longer now.
Yeah.
And now if you've discarded things that so you haven't brought anything back into your house. Again, think about your car. If you drove down there, you could, you want to be cleaning your car as well, because again, you can track these things in and out. And so I would say, whatever the incubation date is, you know what that is supposed to be right now?
Oh gosh, I read so much. I can't. If Renee was here, she would be able to tell me.
She'd be able to tell you, but
because
I would say probably 2 weeks. I mean, just
that's
that
what
way.
I was thinking.
Because if they're thinking about it a little bit longer, they had been looking at it, like I said, 10 days. So you were pretty much in the clear if it was 2 weeks. But the now that's incubation. It lives on the surface for 90 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you are going to need to make sure that anything that you had with you is completely washed, that anything you come in contact with has been cleaned. Again, your shoes, the car, anything at all, because all it takes is for you to have something that's contaminated, bring it in, and boom, we could have 170 bunnies with RHDV.
Yeah. I have another one from Mary. She says, we adopted Bam Bam about a month ago, and he's doing great.
Great. In fact, and Mary and her family took such wonderful care of their other bunny, and unfortunately she had something and she passed away, and they were just devastated. I mean, they tried so hard to take care of her, and it was just kind of amazing. But they love the bunnies so much that they decided to come in and look at bunnies, and this was a perfect match. An absolutely perfect match. And I told her if she hadn't taken that bunny home, I probably would have, because he was just a fabulous little guy. And I'm so happy that you have him in your home. Yeah.
Okay. Katie said that I hope Darla and her babies find home soon.
Yeah. And we're definitely working on them.
We are working on it. Patty says, I'm with the Florida RHDV2 team, and we've been sending info all over our state for over a year to vets and pet parents.
Perfect.
That is great. That's great. Katie said that she thinks it can live on surfaces up to 15 weeks.
It's roughly, it's 90 days.
Yeah.
That's 3 months, And it's one of those things. Just why take a risk? You can be longer. I wouldn't take any risk with it. It is just too contagious.
Yeah. Katie also said that incubation time is 3 months. So she's
not
reading
incubation. That's how long it can live on the surface.
Oh, I might be reading this wrong too.
Okay.
But thank you, Katie, for checking in and getting all that info. She also has a rescue, and she's, I'm sure, letting all her people know everything about it. This is Patty. She says the virus lives in surfaces at room temperature for 105 days and at 39 degrees for 225 days.
210, yeah, 200. It could be.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is.
They're finding out more the more.
Right. But the length of time that it can live. Like I said, you are looking at.
Oh my gosh.
Basically just worry about it for 4 months. You're looking at it.
It's scary.
Roughly that you have to be concerned about it. For a 4 month time frame, and that's why your only means of combating it is to have things clean or to not truck things into your house.
To be proactive.
Right.
And that's why, I got a lot of traffic through my house, so we will start being proactive at my house.
Yeah.
For sure.
So anyway, but as far as that, and I think, we had talked previously on one of the other, topics about, traveling and traveling with your bunny and things that, that you can do for that if you've got your bunny with you. If you are traveling, heading for one of those states, I honestly would not recommend taking my bunny with me. Nope. Because bunnies that are in that state, those states, domestic rabbits, they are able to get the vaccine, and those people who are concerned, would be getting their bunnies, vaccinated for it. We don't have that vaccine here, so if you're in a state where they don't have the vaccine available, and it's not going to be available in any state where it hasn't popped up.
Yeah.
And so I would not take my bunny with me to any of the locations where it has shown itself.
Nope, my vacation is at the lake to our campground because baby Frankie goes with, and that's he's going. And I want to apologize because last week I was going to post all of my stuff on vacation with him and how he set up in my camper, and our Wi-Fi was so slow it wouldn't let me do anything, so I had to message Michael and say, I can't do anything, so you're going to have to pull it off on your own, and tell him I'll post it. So I'm going to post it in our comments from this show, and let you just check it out. He loves it.
He loves it, yeah. They, I understand while I was gone, because usually we're sitting in where we've got that picture in the background, right?
Yeah.
And because of all the bunnies that we have in here right now, we're scooted a little bit further this way, and some of the props from our education area are showing. So I'm going to just kind of reiterate some of the things that that you mentioned, because the smallest thing that we really recommend for the bunnies at this point is a 48-inch double door dog crate. I really like the 2 doors because it's got the one on the side. It's a dog door, not a little tiny door. You can reach in there. But we do have items in here that are meant to be a visual aid in what we recommend not to do. So you can see a smaller dog crate up there behind my head there. And so one of the things I tell people about that, because it's a nice dog crate, and it's usually what you see on display at the pet store. And empty in the pet store, it always looks huge. But you can see the little gray square in there. That is an ordinary cat litter box. Just one ordinary cat litter box. Can you see how much space is left over in there for the bunny? And right now, there's no bowls or anything else in there. It's just the litter box in there. So as big as it looks in the store, it is not big enough for that bunny. Okay,
it's great for traveling.
You could use something, even something smaller if you're traveling, because you can take a folded up pen with you and use a pen. You can use a painter's drop cloth on the floor.
Well, I'm saying like traveling,
but in the car,
yes,
right?
In the car for traveling to travel
and actually,
with it.
In the car, I would either recommend something even smaller than that, or a really nice size pet carrier. And the reason I recommend that is because the pet carrier can be seat belted into the car. You need to actually make sure it's not through just the bars.
Correct.
The thing, because if you hit your brakes, it could literally rip the handle right off. Okay, so it needs to be seat belted around, and you can see your bunny, so you want it facing forward. But if you would hit those brakes, okay, this is what you have to really think about, is that you hit it, well, you got a seatbelt on. That bunny's inside that carrier. Wham! Okay? So you don't want so much space that it can go really flying and be harmed. That's why I put, the heavy towels in there and stuff like that. So they can't go too far, but you want it large enough that they can stretch out and be comfortable. Okay?
I'm trying to see. I have to turn and look. Okay. No, the ones that we were recommending is half of that size.
Yeah.
And we were saying a dish pan
for
a smaller litter box so they could use it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things, and if you have questions about that, because you can go back and watch our other episode that we had that on, or send in a question. We'd be more than happy to do that. But the other two little cages that are showing there, you got that? Yeah, behind your head. Yeah. So, and like I said, one actually is, this little tiny thing. So I point to those things during our classes, and I'm going, if you had a Chihuahua, would you make it live in one of those cages? And people are, well, no, it's too small. Well, if it's too small for a Chihuahua, why are you putting a bunny in there? Most bunnies are bigger than a Chihuahua. Yeah. And yet that's what they've got. One is a wire floor. Would you put your dog or cat on a wire floor? Well, no, it would hurt their feet. Dogs and cats have heavy callous paw pads. And we still wouldn't do that to them, okay? But if you wouldn't do that to a dog, again, or a cat, why would you do it to a bunny? All they've got is skin underneath that fur. And that's like you being, on a wire floor with your sock feet. No matter where you do, you're stepping on that wire floor. It hurts. It starts to abrade through the socks and abrade through your skin. And so we've had bunnies come in here with sores open to the bone from being on wire floors, or abscesses, or sore hocks. So
we actually posted a picture of a poor bunny.
Yeah, we have, and we had one that's anyway. Our one, they go to that purple tub cage, and it's like now the poor rabbit is living in its toilet. They don't like living in their toilet. They have no room to move around. There's nothing for them to occupy their mind or their body. They're stuck in it. So the bunny that's in there is my little stuffed bunny. It has the saddest eyes you ever want to see. Yeah. So the one that's in the wire floor cage, that's a Monty Python bunny. Okay, that's my little stuffed toy. That's a Monty Python bunny, and the other one's my little sad-eyed bunny. Because I said this is the perfect size to put on little Susie's dresser, so little Susie can totally ignore it.
Yep.
And the bunny is just miserable. Okay. But they don't like living in their filth. They don't like having nothing to do or nobody, paying any attention to them. And one of the bunnies, in fact, I believe the bunny was pictured on our Instagram not too long ago, because this poor bunny came in, and the people who had the bunny, I have to say, they honestly did not understand what they were doing. Okay, so we'll let it drop from that. But that bunny had the most horrible burns on its feet and lower legs from living in urine-soaked bedding, okay? Because they didn't understand that they weren't changing all the way down. And the bunny, it was so crippled, and couldn't hardly put any weight on its feet or anything because they hurt so badly, And, so anyway, it took a lot of care, and the bunny was adopted out and was recently in here for boarding. And everybody was going in there. Oh, look who's back! And he's bouncing around. And
so good.
He's oh my gosh, she's so loved. And but it's all because of care. So people really need to know the proper way to take care of a bunny. If it's something that's something you love, and I think my shirt says here, I don't spoil my bunny. Oh wait, yes I do. Yes, because why do you have a pet if you don't spoil them? Okay.
Gloria has a question.
Yes.
She says, remember Gloria is just starting her rabbit rescue in Springfield, Missouri. Her question is, how do you all keep up with socializing so many bunnies? It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of people.
We couldn't do it without all of our volunteers.
No.
Bunnies that are shy, bashful, scared, they get a lot of attention from our volunteers. We are really working,
Yeah.
in my opinion, we have never had this many bunnies before. And we're doing okay.
Right, but if we had fewer bunnies, we'd be able to get
Do
more
better,
attention to them.
yeah.
What we try to do here is, after we finish, doing chores, because all the bunnies have to food, water, hay, cleaning, that type of thing, is, if people have time left over, they'll get out a bunny, just to socialize or spend time with them by their cage, depending on the stage of socialization. Young ones that are here, we try to keep them handled and socialized so that they don't
I do a lot
get
of-
into that
Yeah.
that situation. But like I said, you end up rescuing them. They're coming in as they are, and it's difficult. So keep in mind you're just starting out, okay? And it takes time to build. We've been here 24 years. It's taken a long time.
And a lot
to
of the
get to this
bunnies
point.
that do have a few issues, we have great volunteers that'll take them home and work with them. Courtney, one of our volunteers, we had a bunny here named Darcy, and at no fault of hers,
just terrified people.
yes, and she would get overlooked, and she was here for a very long time. I'm talking a couple of years, and Courtney was able to, she worked with her and was doing a lot of hands-on with her, and she just recently went into her first home. Courtney was able to work with the person that was coming in, and he has been sending her pictures, which make me and Courtney cry.
Yes.
Because she's been on a couch for the first time, laying on a pillow, and she's finally got a home of her own, and she's waited a long time for this. Like I said, though, at no fault of hers.
And I do want to mention, we've had this bunny out. We have couches here.
Oh, yeah.
She has been on a couch.
Right.
It's
I'm
just
saying
as far as
a
in
luxury
home.
couch.
Yes, where it's her couch. And she's,
In fact, Courtney, if you're watching, post the pictures that you got of her.
Yeah.
Because they are adorable and amazing. And I would like to say another one of our adopters came back, and she was actually looking for a bondmate for her bunny, but ended up taking another long-time one of our residents, at no fault of hers again. You don't know what they've been through in their past, and she was a little bit feisty.
feisty. That's mild.
Yeah, I always like to say a little bit feisty. And she's going in her own home also, which we are just so thrilled. So both of our longtime residents here, both got a home. Joy was on vacation. Oh no, because Cindy Lou is still here.
Well,
but they
They were starting the process.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there was an orientation I did right when I got back.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I spent a lot of time doing the orientations, and it's a lot of our other volunteers, some very specific, dedicated volunteers who work with the adopters, afterwards, seeing the bunnies and all of that. And Courtney is one of those people, and she makes it a challenge to herself to find the right
does.
adopters for some of these bunnies.
Yeah, if she sees a bunny that's struggling, it's her mission to get that bunny, and she starts working with that bunny until that bunny can get into a home.
Right.
And we have a lot of people here like that. Dave Coleman comes in and he works with them and brushes them, and that's what he always does. We are just very blessed with a lot of volunteers, so that's what we do. Gloria did say, and you remind me of Joy when Joy first started out. She said, currently I'm running the shelter out of my home, a friend's home, and foster homes. She says, I have 11 extra bunnies in my house right now. That's how Joy started out.
Yes, and at one point I had 12 and said, this is it, this is the max that I can handle, okay? And
But how many volunteers did you have then? Because
me.
You alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I had a young lady that was helping me, once a week. And then, but things were expanding, and I ended up completely stripping the basement and, putting the, bunnies down there because I'd had them in a bedroom. This was after my kids went off to college, so it's like, okay, I appropriated one of the bedrooms. But it's now, okay, now I really need more space. And then I had another volunteer, actually was an adopter actually, who came back and said, I really want to help. And then we were able to, again, do more bunnies, and it was just, so Maggie and I spent,
I was going to say, Maggie was there at the beginning.
All the time, cleaning. I mean, we spent hours every weekend, cleaning. And and then, then there was another couple that came in and started helping us. And there was another one. And these are our volunteers. The vast majority of them actually come from our adopters. So we like to maintain, a relationship with our adopters. And they really and honestly, have been, fabulous. And even once, so we got to the point where I needed more space. Okay,
her husband Tom was very, very patient with her.
Yes,
Tom and my husband Frank talk a lot.
They're similar. And it's like bunnies are not their thing, but they're very, very tolerant of the whole issue.
Yeah.
So at any rate, when we decided to get another house because we had a typical 2-story in the basement. It wasn't a walkout basement, and he wanted a 1-story house, and I wanted a walkout basement, and literally the whole basement was set up to be a shelter. Okay, and I mean we had other shelter directors in there, we had our vets in there, we had you name it, but again it really got to a point where we needed a true shelter because we did have a lot of foster homes as well. And the in order to continue on and be its own, because there was like, okay, you can't guarantee anything from day to day. I mean, we've had volunteers that tragic things have happened, and so you can't count on things. So the biggest thing was then pushing forward to have our own building where you don't have to rely on just one individual person. And so we were again very blessed that we had a lot of people at this point who believed in us and made helped make donations and so forth. So we were able to get a loan and obtain the shelter space. We've been able to maintain a good business plan. And so all of these things, but again, remember that it is a step-by-step process. You don't start off with it, not unless you win the lottery. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But even at that, all of these things that you learn as you go along, you don't, you're, at this point, I can honestly say, you wouldn't even be ready to step into this. You may think this is like wonderful, but you have absolutely no idea the amount of work,
it is
the burden that of maintaining a building, etc. Especially when it's 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
So, but it's worth doing.
It is. I came along with Joy. It was right after you moved into the house you're living in now.
You had the walkout basement.
Yeah.
Didn't have to come through my house.
Yeah, and that's when I was like right around a year after you moved in that house. So when I came along, so Joy and I have known each other for 20 years. My daughter was just going in the 5th grade, and she's now 29.
You make me old.
It makes me feel old, but that's how I keep track of it, is she was just going in the 5th grade, and she's 29 now. Holy crap, we've been, So anyway, Gloria, she says,
hang in there.
When the rubber hits the road, it's really just me, and it gets overwhelming very quickly. She said her husband is very patient too. He loves the bunnies. Gloria, I think you're amazing, and I'm always telling everyone that contacts us that's near your area for them to go and adopt from you. I think you're doing great. Everyone started where you are. keep up what you're doing. We're here to support you, and yeah.
It's tough. I mean, and honestly, and when I think about, like I said, the start, when I started, every cage, every pen came out of my pocket. Every spay, every neuter, every molar spur came out of my pocket. There was no fundraising because we weren't a 501c3, not at that point. And and when we did manage to get that, and start, again, you're building up slowly.
Yeah.
So
don't overwhelm yourself,
Right,
Lori. Don't
exactly.
take on more than you can.
It's tough because it's
It's
there's
really
so many.
hard.
But
It's hard because the bunnies just keep coming.
we know it never stops.
We
So
are packed. Just
if you think there's a point where you reach where, if I have this, it doesn't stop. The need, doesn't stop. And so spreading the information about, not dumping the bunnies, that they're long-term pets, that if that they need to be spayed or neutered, that, learning so that you're happy. Because so many times the bunnies are tossed out because they're not what people think.
I would like to share, Bob, our rescuer, he messaged me today, and in my town there was a lady that has a tiny 6-week-old baby jet black lab, and she went to Rural King and got it a week ago. So it probably was there 4 to 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
And Bob reached out to her because she was already wanting to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So he's like, you live by her. I need you to help her out. So I did call her. She has small children. It's going to be really tough, I think, for her. But Bob has offered to give her supplies. We will help her learn about bunnies. But it makes me sad because I'm not for sure if this poor little bunny is going to be able to stay in that home. Rural King upsets me because I have been there and I have told them that I'm getting their bunnies, and then...
But it's a sale, and
It
unfortunately,
is.
please, if we could get that information out, if people would just believe us when we talk about, any of the feed stores or things like this, that baby bunny is so cute, but that baby bunny is going to poop and pee everywhere, and then it's going to get hormonal at about 10 weeks old, and it's going to start spraying, and it's going to start pumping, and it's going to, all of these things, and again, and the people think, the kids want it. The kids lose interest really fast. To these days, when you watch the video games, okay, do you think they're really going to stick around with a rabbit that's sitting there? Okay, it's not happening. It's not exciting, and the kids don't want to clean up that litter box, and they produce 100 to 300 poops a day.
I always use my house as a prime example because I have dogs, I have cats, I have kids, I have grandkids. And my grandkids are from 10 down to 6 months. They love my bunny, but they love it a whole 10 minutes when they first get there.
Yeah.
And then they forget about the bunny because they're going to do all their other stuff. And they go camping with me. I have my bunny. It's all great for the first 10 minutes, and they're gone.
Right. And this is something that, I really, preach really hard in orientations class. When you're with your other rescues, with your adoptions, you really have to hit hard on this. And I always feel we are not anti-family. I would say 2/3 at least of our adoptions are probably families. But it needs to be where the parents want and love this bunny for the next 10, 12 years, and they're going to be the primary caregivers. The kids can help.
It's like a family pet when you get your dog or whatever. It's just bunnies are a little bit more
work
and breakable.
So
I am about kids learning. My kids grew up, mind you, doing this. They went out on plenty of rescues. In fact, my daughter, if she has to, she goes out on her own now to do it.
If she sees something. She knows.
My kids were raised well, and I'm all about kids volunteering. So I'm all for younger kids learning about bunnies and volunteering, because then they know what it is, and I think they're brought up great that way. But it also teaches them, before you get that bunny, how much work it's going to be. And if they're really committed to it, it also lets the mom and dad say, whoa, this is a lot. But we have so many that do it, and they're so committed, and they come in with their kids, and we work with how to hold them. I always say at my house, when you're little, the 10-year-old is getting better. I have to say, I'm getting a little bit more lenient with him, but he still cannot ever pick up my bunny. Yeah. But all my grandkids go in that room on their belly, or they sit Indian style, and baby Frankie has to come to them. I'm teaching them. This is how I even do it with my dogs and cats. They're not allowed to touch and pick up my little chihuahua. It's not just the bunnies. So
they're fragile.
I like using my house as an example, because my grandkids will be the first one to tell you, Grandma did not say we can do that. At Grandma's house, this is what we have to do. Yeah. Because one of their friends has a dog, and they said, oh, at my grandma's, I can't pick that puppy up. And they told me what they had. Well, they had a really big dog, so that family didn't have to worry about it. But they learn, and that's how they can have.
And that's right. So passing that information. But if you can convince, any of the places around you that, like, sell baby bunnies or whatever, to not do that, because, unfortunately, they're dumped. They either die or they're dumped. It's very, very few would ever actually continue to live as a pet. And so, I've got one place that actually had been selling, bunnies, and when I explained to them, they honestly didn't understand that this sort of thing was happening, and they quit selling bunnies. And they have received a ton of business from us, because I try to send, because I know they're going to sell it right.
Yeah, we had one open up in O'Fallon, and actually Pat Daly, one of our rescue, volunteers, she went in there and gave them the whole spew, and they no longer sold bunnies.
Isn't that wonderful? I mean, sometimes they don't understand how bad the situation is. It's just another, item. But, when you can really get across to them, and you do it nicely, you cannot go in screaming and screeching at people. That doesn't accomplish anything. You really have to be able to explain the whys.
Katie, I just want to touch on what you just posted. You said bunnies can be great pets as long as people have the right education. Scaring them out of bunnies doesn't work, but education does. Family with kids can do great if they're educated and in training as well. Of course, parents are the prime caretaker, though. So we actually embrace families to come. I personally will sit with the children, and we work with the kids, showing them how to put them in their lap. I am the kid person in our group, so I am on it. In fact, one of our recent adopters just called me tonight before our show. I will be going to her home tomorrow morning at 10. Burgundy, if you're out there, you can let everyone know what your issues are. I go to people's house and I help them with their problems. Joy had a person that she knows. They contacted us and couldn't give their bunny medicine. Joy went day and night for 14 days to the person's house.
Not quite that long, but close,
I thought it was 2 weeks.
The bunny was on the medicine, for 2 weeks.
Right.
But the point is, we really do. Like I had just mentioned, about 2/3 of our adoptions are families. We just we want the parents to understand that they are the primary caregivers, that just because the child wants a bunny is not the bottom line. And it has to be the adults who, that child isn't paying that $700 emergency vet bill.
Right.
Okay?
I have a young gentleman now. His name is Michael, and you guys probably watch his show too. He started here he just turned 18.
Yeah.
And
he was 14, wasn't he? When he started?
I was trying to think. And I met him for the first time at one of our meetings, and he was all into soaking up and learning everything he could, and that's how he ended up volunteering here. Him and I are great buddies now, but he also has young nieces and nephews with his personal bunnies, and he does the same thing. He has to teach them just like I do my grandkids. So it's not that anyone's scaring anyone from adopting. That's not what we're doing. We just want to make sure they know what it is and what to expect when their child, like my grandkids, 10 minutes and they're done.
Yeah.
It needs to be a family pet, not just for a child pet.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
right.
I get a lot of, it's for my daughter, it's hers responsibility, and the child is 7 years old. I let the parent know, I'm sorry, you can't have that person, that 7, be in charge of the well-being of that bunny. It has to be the parent. That 7-year-old doesn't know when it's sick.
No.
I'm not scaring anybody off. I encourage families all the time. We have a ton of families. My family has grown up with bunnies. You should all interview my children. They will tell you how I bless them with a lot of bunnies in their youth.
We've had about 180 adoptions so far this year. And like I said, I would say the majority of them are families.
Yeah.
Because once they understand that, and they become more involved. In fact, some of them, when they leave the class, they're more excited about getting the bunny because it wasn't what they thought. And when they find out what it's really like, it's like, well, this isn't just for the kids. This is really something that can be a family thing. So they really do appreciate the information. And I've over and over again, I've had people say, we are so glad we got this information because now they're looking forward to the bunny.
Yes. I will never forget, we were at your house in the basement, and mom, dad, and son, 12 years old, I believe, came in. And you had, when you came in, there was a 48-inch crate, right here by your couches.
For my education.
And it was the most, I cannot remember the bunny's name, but it was the most friendliest bunny. And that's who we seen everyone seen when they walked in. It loved everyone. So, of course, this family wanted that bunny to sit with. You took the bunny, the son, the mom, and the dad was standing up, and the bunny went right over to the child and sprayed him with urine.
I mean, literally, when it turned one look at the kid, turned around, sprayed him.
I was in shock and so embarrassed.
Yes.
Because that bunny decided, I do not like this. I'm done.
Yeah. Bunnies are opinionated.
Yes. Well, why? My point being, while the mom and the son were doing it, the dad was 2 rows over, and I was continuing working, feeding, watering, and the dad went to one of our really reserved bunnies that was kind of a nipper, and the bunny was at the front of the cage letting the dad pet it, and I'm going, my gosh, this is incredible, especially because the dad did not want anything to do with the bunnies. It was solely for the 14-year-old or 12-year-old son, and the mom was really getting into it. When they left, they adopted that bunny that fell in love with the dad, and that turned out to be the dad's bunny. And the son was fine with it. Mom was great. We were shocked. They picked that stinky little opinionated bunny, and
that bunny
it was the dad.
Yeah.
It was
right, and it's just because that's the other thing why we take so much time with our matching, because we want it to be the right match. And I said the bunnies are extremely, extremely opinionated. If they don't like somebody, you're not going to change their mind about it, because you could look like, sound like, or smell like something bad in their past that you mentioned. And the other thing is, why say, is this person your best friend and not that person? This person is really, really nice, but you didn't click.
And I want you to know, if Pat Daly was in here, she'd be the first to tell you, remember all those bunnies at the Belleville Humane Society?
Oh, goodness, yes.
7 months Pat and I worked out of there.
Yeah.
It was
horrible. It was
so
just horrible.
We were daily taking bunnies to get fixed. I was staying there cleaning. We had like 37 rabbits in a tiny little room.
And no air conditioning.
None. Oh my gosh, it was painful.
It was, yeah.
But some of those bunnies just loved me. And if Pat even got close to that cage, they were biting her. And then there was one that just the sight of me opened its mouth, but would let Pat pet it all day long. And I always use as an example is, they know what they like, and they might not like you, but they might like the next person. So that is why we introduce them the way we do, because we don't want to send you home with a bunny
That's the wrong match. We don't want the family miserable. We don't want the bunny miserable. We want that good chemistry where, and so when it comes to families, we want the bunny to be happy with everybody, and everybody happy with the bunny. So that's why we do, a lot of introductions and sit with different bunnies. We have that right match. We had one family came in one time, and it was similar to the story you had, and because the bunny that they initially looked at, who was so friendly and everything, wanted nothing to do with them, and then but this other bunny who was normally really reserved and shy. When we got that bunny out, and said what they're like in their cage is not necessarily what they're like when they're out. That bunny was all over them, and they're going, we want this bunny. And I said, they've come in and said, oh, she follows us around the house. She sits on the couch and watches TV with us. It was the right match.
Yeah. And I would also like to say, I stress on, I don't let my grandkids hold or pick up my bunny. And I do have families that come in here that say, look, my daughter is going to want to hold that bunny. So I say, great. If that's what it is, everyone wants to. But let's teach her how to do it. We always do it sitting on the floor, in her lap, holding them, and we do show them the right way and a better way for the kids to interact with the bunny. And the parents think it's great. The kid's happy with it. And the little girl was so happy because they adopted one of our white bunnies, and all up in her lap and laying its head here, and she's watching TV. They sent me pictures. Bunny's laying all over her arm. She's happy. Bunny's happy. I was happy.
Yes.
So we do go over and above for our rabbits to make sure they're in good homes, and I have no problem doing extra work.
And trying to get across to people about some of the bunnies. We have people come in here, again, with the wrong ideas about them. So they want this, this little cute bunny or something like that. It's like, no, this is really not the right bunny if you've got children. So think about it this way. You wouldn't get a teacup chihuahua for your child. You want a beagle, golden retriever, something that's a little sturdier, a little more forgiving, a little more laid back. So when there are especially smaller children, the big white, the New Zealand whites, the Californians, they're some of the most wonderful bunnies with children. And they're just so tolerant.
My favorite breed are the big white bunnies. That's how I got into bunnies. I went to a garage sale with my mom, and these two little bunnies are in that little purple cage back there.
Yeah. In the sun.
In the sun. And the guy, there's this big, and the guy is taking a hose and spraying in the crate in that little purple cage, and the bunnies were hanging like this.
Broke your heart.
I said, are your bunnies for sale? He said, no, they're my supper. I said, well, that's a lot of work. How about I give you $20 and you load them up in my van?
You go to McDonald's, yeah.
So I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with them. I call my husband and I said, Frank, he goes, oh my gosh.
What are you doing now?
What are you bringing home now?
Uh-huh.
And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have a few more. A lot of people are saying definitely the parents' responsibility. They're a lot of work, but
Kids
they're
can
worth
help.
it.
And it's just a matter of, the children need to be responsible, but you need to remember that there's so many things going on in the kids' life. They've got activities, they've got sports, they've got homework, and they're going to go away to college.
And they do help. I always involve them. In fact, one of our little girls here tonight, her name is Elena. She is...
Little girls?
Yeah, they're not anymore. I have to remember they're 18 now.
She started out little. Okay, now she's joking.
Well, she was born into this. She was 2 weeks old when she started coming to my house. Family. I was watching kids for them. And she grew up, and all of their kids did. Went to that Bellevue Humane Society. You should hear the stories, she says.
Yes, I will remember.
Her brother was really tiny. I'd give him color books. He'd go under the table, eat chips, color, and the bigger kids always wanted to help. To this day, Elena is here tonight, 18, graduated high school, and she is still volunteering, and she'll be the first one to say, Aunt Bobby never let me hold a bunny until I was 12 years old.
Right. But sitting on the floor, same thing.
Yes, it was
Interacting.
independently.
Yes.
In fact, we took a picture of her standing in my living room with her favorite bunny at 12 years old, because it was the first time she was able to independently do it and put it back.
And that's after she'd been involved with bunnies all of her life, basically.
She has.
Yeah.
She's 18, and anyway.
And it's mostly because rabbits, being picked up, same thing as being captured. Captured means, dead. So that's why most of them don't like being held, okay? And in fact, we found that one of the best things, if you get like those, you've seen some of those slings that hold pets, the bunnies like that because you're not holding them, but they're close to you. So this is, that's a kind of a separate subject. But, most children, if that bunny starts to squirm or whatever, and you don't put it down, because that's what it's trying to tell you, put me down, then they're going to start digging, and again, the child, can't really hang on to it, and then that bunny nips, and now you got a broken back, broken leg, because that's exactly what, is going to happen,
That's kind of what the bunny I have now, he's 3 legs, and that is because he got dropped by a toddler.
Yeah.
But again, it's the parents and the teaching.
And why we teach you.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
So Gloria says hi to Michael. Katie says they do that too. We're getting all kinds of love. Gloria said there's a pet store selling baby bunnies where she lives. Yeah. She says she's not sure. She should go in there with information. What kind of a place is it?
These are usually your mom and pop stores because it's not one of the big chains. The chains aren't.
If it is a mom and pop store, usually that's what we had in O'Fallon, and Pat was able to talk them out of selling bunnies. You may just give it a shot.
Talk to them. One of the things that you can do is go, would you, seriously like to know something about, bunnies? And that there's, refer people to, your rescue for adoption, and in turn, advise them about what is really good rabbit food, good rabbit pellet, what is good hay, what is good litter, what are the proper things for selling for, the nice sized litter boxes, the big cages, not the little cages. Basically, you can give these people a shopping list and say, well, this pet store carries all of this stuff. And it would be a good symbiotic relationship, because at this point you're not able to carry all the supplies, that you can, sell for them, but you can point them in the direction. All if they don't sell baby bunnies, and if people adopt from you and they go, well, this store told me that, to contact you, again, you're able to, get that, send business their way.
So Katie said something about kids being allowed in our orientation. So we do allow what's it, 12 and older?
It's 12. It's actually, I prefer 13 and older. I go through some very specific and explicit information that is not meant for children. The class is also lengthy enough that most children get bored to tears. And the other thing is that we have the separate time
right,
when
with
they come in with the kids.
So first we like to get the parents in because if it's not something they end up wanting, you know, the kids are going to be devastated. They've already come to our shelter, seen the bunnies, and the parents say, "Oh
no, not for us.
This isn't." And that's one of the reasons we do it, because they can change their mind and say, "I didn't realize that it entitled all of this." And
I'm just explaining it.
Right.
You know, initially I didn't. You know, I had some smaller children there. And the same thing, you know, happened is that when the parents going, "Oh no, this is not the right thing," the children are screaming, crying, "I don't know, buddy!"
And the parent can't,
you know, and the
concentrate. You know,
right? They can't concentrate. The kids whining and crying and twisting and whatever, and not wanting to sit still. The other thing is that, like I had fairly recently a lady who said, "Well, I actually came to your orientation like 4 years ago." And said it wasn't the right time, and she said now is the right time.
Well, I also want to share, while you were gone, mom and daughter went through your orientation. She reached back out and said, "Can we come and have that orientation again? I want my other 3 kids in there." They were older. I say maybe between 12 and 15. And she took the whole orientation again, and she made the one daughter come back. So all 4 of her kids had to go through the whole orientation, because the mom wanted to make sure that everyone was going to work together to take care of the bunny.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I forgot to tell you that. And they ended up coming back and adopting a bunny.
Yeah,
but they did it as a
family.
Yeah,
and so it's just. There's truly are reasons for everything we do. It's not just a capricious thing.
No.
This is 24 years of experience. Okay,
it is. And the only thing I say is I know you get sick of me hearing it, but I always use my household as an example in the experiences I've had with my own children, with Elena and her siblings. I kept a lot of my family's kids, and now my grandkids. So I use my experience and my things that have happened. I've learned and changed things. And that's why I share it like that, because I want you to know it's happened at my house. We've made mistakes. I've learned from them, and that's why my grandkids are doing the things they're doing now, because I had to learn when my kids were little. I'm just sharing my experience. It's what works for us, and it's how we like to do it. I like Joy to have the parents first, and then I like to be able to teach the kids after their parents say they're going to get a bunny. And then I like going in there and sitting on the floor and teaching them everything.
And that's, part of it too, is that you do the things that are your strengths, not your weakness. And having been an adult training instructor for a good portion of my life, you're repeating the same thing over and over and over again, and keeping it fresh is actually a difficult challenge. And then there's the same thing. Some people have really, really wonderful relationships with small children, and can work with them. They know how to handle the bunnies, and there's just a lot of things that work. I mean, we've got people who are just fantastic at sitting there working with bonding or sitting all these different things that go on. And I've done all of them, but my strength seems to be in that particular thing. So we have everybody work where
I do really good with the kids, because that's what I have, and that's what I work with. I only have time for one more because Joy is needed out there. We ran really late tonight with all the questions. But Sally says the orientation class is what helped us decide to keep our Marvy.
Oh.
No fear tactics at all. It was information. I am not a fan of having pets. I don't know how to handle. I appreciate that. You said that. I really appreciate it. That's why we do the orientation.
Thank you.
Is for
I
the
mean, that
information and the learning.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. So
Okay.
Joey and I have to get off here because we have a full still hours of work to
Yeah,
do.
unfortunately.
Sorry we ran late. I hope we answered everyone's question. You can still drop them.
We'll get back to them.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we will see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye.